Appreciate everybody for joining us here today. Obviously, a lot of Jake's teammates, Bob Melvin here in the stands. I think just speaking to what everybody thinks here about Jake Cronenworth, how excited we are to announce a 7-year contract for Jake to be a member of the San Diego Padres, and I think a couple of things about Jake. When we made the deal a few years ago from the Rays, he definitely was not the throw-in player at the time in the deal, but he's clearly worked his way from a player that we were excited to acquire to a core member of our nucleus. And he's the epitome of what we're looking for from a Padre player. His love of the game, second to none in our organization. His work ethic, whether it's daily work that he puts in every single day to be the best player on the field. Go into the off seasons where he every off season in the last 3 years since he's been here, wanting to be better, wanting to be a better version of himself, not satisfied with his current game, and wanting to continue to improve and grow. From our standpoint, the example he sets for our group and our team, we wanted to reward that. As a player, 2-time All-Star, whether it's playing second base, first base, shortstop, he'll tell you pitcher. I think his ability to impact the game on both sides of the field, defensively and offensively, he controls the strike zone, he gets the ball at the ballpark. He's a clutch player, he's a gamer, he's a winner. I think from our standpoint, Peter, myself, having a core group of guys that we really believe in, and wanted to make sure they're here in San Diego for a long time. I know Jake he's a guy that we wanted to reward. Very proud to be up here with him today. Very excited to be up here with him today. And I know that he's going to do everything he can to bring that first World Championship here to San Diego.
Obviously super excited. Pretty surreal day for me. Coming from a small hometown, and to be sitting up here now with friends, family, teammates, coaches. Obviously, thanks to Peter and AJ and E and Nick. Just want to thank my family for all the sacrifices they made when I was younger, driving to Canada for hockey tournaments, taking all the time off to drive me all over the place, and everything my dad's done for me since I was a little kid. Just couldn't be happier, and like AJ said, bring that first championship to the city.
How exciting is this for you personally and professionally, and can you share some of the emotions that you felt over the last 24, 48 hours?
Yeah, pretty crazy. I think if you'd asked me when I was younger, even 2 or 3 years ago, that I'd be sitting up here talking about this, probably wouldn't have said yes. But to be up here is definitely surreal. But to call San Diego home for the next 7 years, so 8 years technically, is pretty special.
You've been a part of a really special period and been a big contributor to a special period in Padres baseball. How important was it for you, since you're contributing the next 7 years of your productive years to an organization that was going to continue to be able to provide that? And how influential were some of the other big contracts that you've seen some of your teammates make in terms of making this decision?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you look at the core group of guys, and a lot of them are sitting in here, and hopefully there's some more to come to keep us all together. But I don't think you'd ask for a better group to stay together for a long period of time. It's a pretty special organization and a special group of guys, and I think it's going to be a fun ride.
Jake, as you watch the things happen over the last couple months or several months, did you wonder if there was going to be money left for you?
I think it's just the dedication, obviously, from Peter and his family to put us in the best position to win. And along with AJ and his group, I think things are looking really good in San Diego.
AJ, can you speak to why this makes sense, the structure of this deal?
Yeah, I think Jake's one of the best players in the league. He's a guy for us that there's just a lot of belief and faith in with any player. When you give somebody an extension, you give somebody you commit to one of your players for a number of years, you're really betting on the person. And I think for all of us, Josh, myself, Bob, when we sit down and have those conversations, Nick Ennis put a lot of work into this contract. I think all of us, when we sit down and we're trying to evaluate JK, his commitment, his want to be better, his want to be the best, I think we all feel really, really comfortable that, whether it was, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, that Jake is going to do everything in his power to be the best player that he can be, and, do everything he can to help the Padres win. So those are some of the easier type decisions you have to make when you're betting on somebody with the makeup that Jake has.
Is this the kind of deal that can help you guys kind of stabilize things down the road, leave room for things to happen?
I mean, again, like you need a lot of great players if you're going to win baseball games. And Jake, he's a great player. And I think from our standpoint, also the versatility that he provides Bob. I think whether it's playing second base, shortstop in a pinch, like I mentioned, go over to first base, hit anywhere in the lineup, is just a winning player. And I think for that reason, when we sat down, we wanted to make sure he was here for hopefully the rest of his career, honestly.
I think looking back on the years I was in the minors with Tampa, kind of trying to find myself, who I was as a player, becoming a two-way player, getting traded here as a two-way player, and not really knowing my path and my future with the team is definitely pretty crazy.
I can speak to the two-way player thing when we acquired him. We actually did talk about him pitching, but I think Nelson could tell you here. He's in the stand, over here, Nelson. And I think when Nelly was going back and forth between AAA and the big leagues at that time, as a super scout, I talked to Nelly about, you ever think about pitching? And 450 home runs later, he likes to remind me of that. So, yeah, it's yeah. So Jake, we never quite got to that point, but we definitely thought about it when we acquired him as a nice fallback plan. So,
Jake, in your mind, when did this become a possibility, and how recently did it become like a reality that you wanted to tie your long-term future here and stay here?
Yeah, I think in reality over the last month, but I think ever since the first day I showed up here, I kind of, with the group of guys we had and kind of seeing how the future was going, definitely was obviously extremely appealing to me to call this home for a long time.
And AJ, can you kind of speak to how this all came about for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, again, like we constantly are sitting down and talking about a short-term plan, a long-term plan. I think Jake fit into both of our conversations. So we sat down with with Peter and Nick and Josh and some of the crew as we talked about what our team looks like over the next few years. We wanted to make sure that Jake was a part of it. So, sat down and mainly Nick had conversations with Matt Ricotta with CAA, and just started those conversations here really over the last 3 or 4 weeks as we got into spring training, and hoping to try to get something done by opening day. I think we beat it by maybe a few minutes, maybe. I don't know. I think, but we were really happy to get something done.
Beat it by a few minutes, meaning the morning of opening day?
It was right around that time. That's kind of when it looked like we were going to be able to get something done, yeah.
You're getting pretty accustomed to these long-term contract press conferences. What does that kind of say about the organization's commitment and the potential for further ones?
Yeah, I think it speaks to Peter, Eric, myself. It takes. First you need a lot of people with ability, and then you need stability. And I think we want to, again, like as you sit down as a Padre fan, to know that hey, over the course of the next decade, the players that we believe a lot in, that we think are championship level players and people, they're going to be here. They're going to be people that when you come to see games, that and your kids come to see games, that they're they can be excited about it. And it's not a situation where hey, you come in year to year, you're not sure who's in that, who's on the field, who's in your lineup. It's really hard to find like elite level players and elite level people, and when you get them, to have. I think, again, philosophically from Peter, from Eric, from the group, like, hey, we want to make sure that people feel welcome here and they want to be here for a long time. We just think that's going to help us win a lot of games here going forward and build something that our fans know is sustainable. So,
Jake, you kind of made the roster as sort of the 26th man in 2020. That first start, you made a first base. What do you remember thinking that day, what that might lead to for your career?
Yeah, I think I pinch ran in the second or third game and then started right after that. Didn't even have the glove for the position I was going to play. So, yeah, that was not knowing then, and kind of where I've paved my path now definitely is pretty crazy.
AJ, how do you envision using Jake's versatility, positionally, not only this year but down the road with him locked up?
Yeah, I mean, I think those will be conversations that we'll have, year in, year out with our baseball ops group, with Bob and his staff. But I think, again, the ability for Jake to move around the field, play different spots, I think that's a big part of it. He's an athlete, and he works really hard at his craft. So I think from that standpoint, again, he's a guy that can move around the field. And I think every year sit down with Bob and what's needed to help our team win. We'll ask that of Jake, sit down with him, and know that he's able to do it.